You feel the energies of the music of the spheres, the quantum field that is being gently but powerfully brought into this space where all of the information that you need, that you require in this moment, is available. You have already gone to the altar that is within this space, and this perfect orb of light that is a living light being is in your hands. And the word of today that we are exploring together within this sanctuary of sound and the templates that we are looking at is exactly as Mahana has said. The word is proof. Feel into that. Proof. And there is also to prove, a noun, a verb. And how do you experience proof? What does it mean to you? First, you can start by feeling into this ball of energy to test first without knowing or having anything coming to you other than through your empathy. So feel into this ball of light and ask for it to share with you your true feelings about proof. And explore that for a moment. Maybe it brings you great joy because you have always been good at proving things. Maybe you are a mathematician and you love proofs. Maybe you love proofs because you were able to prove something to yourself, which then makes it known. Is truth synonymous with proof? Must you see something in order for it to be true? Feel that. What is your true relationship with proof or to prove? Ask your inner child or go back in time to your childhood. When you were a child, outside of the parent, preacher, and teacher, when you were in your own space or with your friends, did you have to prove anything? Or were you free to experience? And this is the question that we are bringing up to awareness. What would it be like if you never had to prove yourself to anyone or anything? What would that feel like? Would you feel freedom or release? If you are a metaphysical practitioner or you have multidimensional experiences, what if you could talk about them freely without having someone say, prove it? Have you ever stood in a field, looked up at the sky, or seen something incredible in the sky, like a UFO or your star family, and the person next to you couldn't see it? How do you prove something to someone who is holding beliefs or is not ready to see what it is that you are seeing? How do you prove something that you just experienced and you felt it to your core to someone who doesn't have that belief system within them? For sometimes when people experience distortions, there is no amount of proof, nothing that you can say or do that will allow them to see through the unique lenses of your perceptions. And when we look at the word proof, it comes from Anglo-French or Old French, preuve, which means evidence and argumentation to establish the fact of something beyond reasonable doubt, or a proof, a test. And it comes from the Latin probare, which means to prove, like in Spanish, probar, to prove. And it is the act of proving, act of testing or making trial of anything. Or if you think about it in terms of alcohol, it has come to mean the act, the standard of strength of distilled liquor, with the notion of having been tested as to degree of strength. And in an adjective type of sense, it means impenetrable or able to resist, such as fireproof, waterproof, or foolproof. And we find this quite fascinating because within the word able to resist or impenetrable means that to prove something means that in many ways it is impenetrable, that is it. There is nothing beyond that. And the definition within itself has a connotation of argument. So imagine how often somebody has asked you in their life to prove something. Would this not make you feel like they don't believe you, or maybe they don't trust you? And we are speaking outside of science because we understand that science has a structure and that science is important. And through the repetition of theories and of proving something and then of disproving it, science can be extremely helpful. No one would argue with that. It is how the world went from flat to round. But our ability to question or wonder that, and to allow for ourselves to see differently, is what shifted that. Our ability to inquire and to create space to believe beyond previous held beliefs is what makes room for that. It has nothing to do with proof, but only of opening the heart to experience. Additionally, when we look at the word to prove, it comes from prover, again, Latin, Italian, provar, worthy, good, upright, virtuous. To represent as good, to make credible, to show, to demonstrate, to inspect, to judge by trial, to show, to convince, to put to the test. We find this fascinating because what we ask or wonder about, or what we invite you into, what if we said that there was no such thing as proof? What would happen then? Would that mean that nothing then can be true? Proof is of the lower self or the ego. Again, no judgment. Oftentimes proof is clung onto because with it there is a sense of not being in the unknown, meaning something becomes identifiable, it becomes true. But when you create a truth and you begin to attach to a version of the truth, you have already lost your way. Because it is not for us to attach to a version of the truth, but to be open to all new thought and to live in a state of wonder. Because when we live in a state of wonder, this is where our worry transmutes. When we are able to transmute our worry into wonder, it is when we become open. And when we are open, we are able to see with clarity, because every moment within itself has the potential to be life-altering. It is filled with potentialities and potential, but if you are always seeking to prove something, we ask you what it is that you are seeking to prove, and we suggest that it might have something to do with you feeling the desire, with you feeling the need to prove yourself, to prove your worth, your strength, to yourself, so that you can feel true. So that if you prove yourself, or a belief that you hold dear, or an experience that you had to someone else, then they can agree with you, and then so you have proved it to be true. Yet in this desire to prove yourself, you have given over your sovereignty. And if you choose the wrong person, although there is no such thing as a wrong or right person, but if you choose someone, you have given over your sovereignty to them, and you have placed power in their hands. And depending on their day, maybe they have not had a great day, depending on how they feel about you in the moment, depending on what you are reflecting to them. So remember that somebody's response most likely has nothing to do with you, but only themselves, or the day that they have had, and it might not be meeting you with unkindness in a way that they have been planning. This is how feelings become hurt. We believe that all of you are sensitive. It is just that oftentimes your sensitivities become distilled or strewn about, and you become sensitive, not to the wrong things, but through lack of discernment or giving your power away, you become sensitive to something that you need not necessarily be sensitive to. And we understand how this sounds. But let us say that you experience comfort within yourself, and that you are in alignment, and that you trust your experiences. And then if you wonder about this and you approach someone, but you feel good about this experience and you are just simply seeking an opinion of another, then regardless of the way that they respond, you will not be affected. Your feelings will not be hurt. And this is what we are suggesting. Clearly, in no way are we suggesting in this moment that anyone is overly sensitive, because it is these sensitivities which allow you to discern. And we don't want anyone shutting down their feelings or their empathic abilities, because this is the key to your emotional intelligence, and your openness depends on your sovereignty and your emotional intelligence. Because many of you, all of you, humanity in this time is being asked to remember. Being asked to remember histories that have been erased, histories that have been burned. And to locate within oneself programs that are inorganic. These are all things, frequencies, vibrations that in essence, within the moment, cannot be proven. So if you are unable to prove something, it does not mean that it is not real or cannot exist. And if you seek freedom to live freely from the influence of others, to free yourself from the burden of having to prove your worth and your value to someone or to yourself, would you not be freer? Would you not be free from the influence of others? Would it be easier to claim your sovereignty? It takes great courage. It takes great responsibility for the self. It takes the willingness to be in the unknown. What if we said there was no such thing as proof, and there is only observation? There is only experience and observation. What does that mean to you? How would that shift your world? could you just breathe that in and relax? Because truly, many of you are programmed to have to defend yourself or to respond because maybe you grew up with narcissists or people that always said, prove it, tell me differently. So then you developed a mechanism within yourself that became defensive, that anytime someone approaches you with a wonderment, you take it as an attack. Because, again, there is no blame, but this is a pattern that exists within you, and you go on the attack. Because if you attack first, then you do not have to defend. Or you have been raised with a program that says you must defend everything, so you find yourself over-explaining. And through this over-explanation, you experience more anxiety, more distrust, and it's not about the other person, it's about trust in yourself. And this brings a great amount of self-harm into your energy fields and also brings in distortions. We invite you to ask yourself to just have awareness, to feel within you the energies when you feel that you must prove yourself, and to pause for a moment, take a deep breath. You can always say, can you just give me one moment? You can always say, let me get back to you. Because truly you never need to defend yourself. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Specifically and especially when someone is demanding it from you. Because who gives someone the right to demand that you prove yourself to them? And ask yourself how many times you have asked someone to prove something to you. Have you ever been in a relationship and wanted somebody to prove their love to you? Have you ever been in a relationship and felt so unworthy that through actions you had to prove yourself to them? Not because they asked you, but because you believed yourself to be unworthy, that then you had to prove yourself. In business relationships, oftentimes we would suggest that this unworthiness is coming from the feminine principle that has been wounded and obliterated and erased. She has been erased from the histories, from the cellular memory. She has been burned. Both literally and metaphorically, her words have been burned through the books that she has written. Her voice has been erased. When you feel the need to prove yourself because you do not feel worthy, we suggest looking at the feminine principle. And every human, all of us, have the feminine and the masculine principles. What if in those moments all you had to do, or all you could do, would be to remember your preciousness, that everything in this experience has been created for you. Because when you are able to free yourself from having to defend yourself or to prove yourself to another, it can show you that you are experiencing programs that are free from the frequency of fear. When you are able to dissolve your fear, when you are able to look at what it is that causes the frequency of fear within you, or the anxiety which is triggered by fear, when you free yourself from the frequencies of fear, when you give yourself permission, because again, you are the only one that can give yourself permission, when you dissolve the frequencies of fear, when you melt the fear, all those that you perceive to have power over you, all of those who perceive themselves to be in power, the people in control, they fall. When you take your sovereignty, when you reclaim your sovereignty, when you refuse to prove your worthiness to another, not out of stubbornness, fear, or anger, because you own and know your worth and your value, this is when transformation, this is when life-altering experiences occur. This is when your entire life shifts. Pay attention to those around you, not out of judgment, but have awareness of who in your life is asking you to prove yourself. And it is not about the first person that asks you to prove yourself, that you cut them out of your life. Just stop proving yourself to them and see what happens. They may stay and their behavior may shift because they may be asking you to prove it to you because they don't believe it within themselves. Again, we are all mirrors for each other. And then there may be people that cannot handle this version of you because they enjoy making you prove yourself. What if the areas that you wanted to prove to yourself were really the areas that you were meant to open? That where you seek proof, to prove something to yourself, is really showing you where you have cut yourself off from the streams of consciousness, from these energy streams. And what if you release yourself from the burden of proof and you allow yourself to experience the flow of energies that are always coming to you? Because the pain that we experience within this incarnation, the human species experiences pain in relation to the degree that they are cut off from their spirit selves. How often have you ever connected with your higher self or the beings, the dragons, the galactics, whomever it is that you work with? Have they ever asked you to prove it? Have they ever said, prove yourself to us? If they have, we would suggest that maybe those beings are not aligned with being in service to others. They may be holding frequencies of service to the self. But how often have we asked them to prove themselves to us? This is acceptable because we are working through discernment. So they accept this from us because they understand that we are operating through a veil and that this veil is filled with fear. And it is not that we say, prove yourself to us. What we are really asking is to have them prove themselves over and over again, to show me a sign, show me synchronicities, show me this, show me that, because it is proof that we are seeking because we doubt what we are receiving. When you ask a being, show yourself to me, show me your heart, and you feel it and you know their signature, that is enough. But of course, it is fun to play the games and to activate the inner child. But again, they play with us when we are wondering, when we are the divine child and we are open to wonder. That is when we are able to receive in a more clear state of being, because in those moments of wonder we are open, our hearts are open, and we are beyond belief, we are beyond the need for truth, and we are beyond proof. And that is when you will find yourself experiencing complete clarity. And that is when you will surprise yourself. That is when you will open to streams of creativity and clarity and limitless, because you are no longer trying to seek approval through proving. It is not an accident that prove and approve share many of the same letters and many of the same frequencies. Approve, sanction, praise. So we have gone from to render something certain, to put out of doubt, to establish the validity or authenticity of a will, to find worthy, to prove by argument. This is all linked to approve. Approve, to sanction or praise. You don't have to prove yourself to God. We have histories with the Catholic Church and with religion that are constantly asking us to prove ourselves through devotion, through pain or through sacrifice. Because the belief is, the program is that we are not worthy as we are. When you free yourself from having to prove yourself, you remove yourself from competition. You tell yourself, when you free yourself from having to prove yourself, that you are no longer constantly struggling for love and attention, because you recognize the wholeness of who you are. You recognize the love and the divinity that is within you. You understand and remember that you are self-mastered, you are divine, you are sovereign, and you are free. And because of this, you no longer struggle for love and attention, and you emanate the love that you already are. It comes from your core, and it becomes the coherent frequency that is your divine nature. When you free yourself from competition, you free yourself from corruption. You begin to live freely. You no longer close yourself off from inquiry, and you are open to exploration. You are open to new thoughts and to new ideas, and from this openness, not from a place that has been proven, because that which has already been proven may well be programs and structures from the old paradigm from which you are trying to free yourself. So by working with energies that have already been proven, you may in fact be creating more of the same. And this is where discernment is important, because of course we say you do not need to recreate the wheel. There are some things that are available to you, but it is about tuning into the frequency and asking yourself if there is fear within you. When you free yourself from the competition, you expand in love, you grow in courage. You let go and don't participate in the corruption. You are able to take belief systems and hold them loosely as the guideposts that they are. You don't have attachments to them. When there is no such thing as proof, you free yourself and you can function energetically far more efficiently, because you are not spending time on trying to prove your self-worth. You are open to the wonders of the universe. You are open to experiencing the moment, which is always filled with possibility and joy. And the moment does not collapse on itself when you are open to it. When you stop asking someone or something to prove itself to you, and you are willing to experience the unknown, you become limitless. Because proof and approve are so intimately intertwined, it is as if proof and judgment go together. But when you are able to seek truth, the purity of truth, it is without judgment. It is through observation that you are able to discover the living light of truth, which is always shifting, changing, and meeting you in the moment. And in that moment, your truth can be very different from the truth of another. Why is this? Because in the moment, in your ability to, your adeptness at inquiry, your inquiry expresses the consciousness level at which you are able to receive information. And this information is not proof. It is information for you to embody that comes from the source intelligence. And we are constantly surrounded by information, and we are being asked to look through it not for proof, but to sift through information, knowledge, soul experiences, and lifetimes that have been built up, acquired, downloaded into our core. True information will resonate. The truth will resonate within your being because it carries with it frequencies that are clear, that your body, that your cellular structure knows is organic, knows is from source intelligence. Why? Because it is knowledge that you can embody, and through that embodiment, it advances you on your ascension journey. It supports you. Even if it is information that you wish you didn't know, it carries with it the knowledge that once embodied becomes the wisdom that supports your advancement on your spiritual ascension or journey. It is beneficial to explore proof and the ways that you experience it. Because, as we have mentioned before, the word convince has been brought into the vibration, the template, as well as judgment into the template of proof, to prove, approve. And we are exploring this in this way because prove and persuade are very misleading. They are very close because to persuade is to demonstrate that something is true or viable. Through convincing someone to agree or to accept or to do something, usually through reasoning. And this is very tricky because those are very overlapping. And we point this out because as you search and seek your freedom, and you begin to recognize when you are proving your worthiness or your experiences, then you will begin to see or experience when people around you are trying to persuade you and not actually provide proof of something for you or to you. And again, we remind you that proof is of the ego because there is no such thing as proof, because there is only observation. And that proof is useless unless it's proof of something people already want to believe. And when they already want to believe something, then they are already ready to be convinced, to agree to, or to accept through the power of persuasion that something is viable or true. We offer to you, and a phrase we like to offer is that when you have an experience, and when you would like it to be not proven, but to be validated, to ask the universe to support you through validating your experience. Because validation is a valuable tool that can help to build self-confidence within you and can help to build your strength and faith in oneself. And then along the way, you will find that you will need less validation over time. So lean into your subconscious and to this frequency of proof. And allow yourself to experience the frequency, to invite the frequency of truth in, and to experience your authentic self that magnetizes synchronicities and validations along your path as you create stronger frequencies of faith in yourself. That you live free from preferences or beliefs that you hold so strongly that you are unwilling to believe anything else, and that you open yourself to the wonder that is the universe. Live for a day free from proof or having to defend that you are right. Free yourself from the polarities, because it is when you seek proof that you are playing into the polarities, that you are not living in dynamic balance. Dynamic balance exists in threes, so that you are always able to make adjustments to all of the energies that are coming through and to you. We leave you with this as you explore the idea or the frequencies, the templates of where you may have attachments or have had experiences that lead you to believe certain things about proof, so that you are open to see where it is that you are giving your sovereignty to another, and or the way that you may be taking sovereignty through another by demanding or expecting someone else or something else to prove themselves to you, and to open yourself. And we leave you with a quote from an indigenous tribe in the northern parts of America. It is the great-grandmother that explains that we need mystery because the Creator in her wisdom knew this. Because mystery fills us with awe and wonder. They are the foundations of humility, and humility is the foundation of all learning. So we do not seek to unravel this. We honor it by letting it be that way forever. And through humility, and when we are open to mystery without the need to prove the mystery, thereby annihilating the mystery and the unknown, give yourself permission to experience and to be in the mystery, free from the anxiety and burden of proof. I know say thank you, thank you, thank you, and we love you, we love you, we love you.